What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host. It is Monday, November 22nd. Happy Thanksgiving week. We are going to break down the Monday Night Football game between the Buccaneers and the Giants on New York. We'll go on the road to play Tampa. And I believe the Bucs' first home game in roughly a month. Tom Brady's coming off back-to-back losses. He is angry. And we will probably be talking about whether he can cover the 11-point spread. If you want to check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/pick6. You can watch the shows there. We do live recaps of Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, Thursday Night Football. I guess we'll do a live Thanksgiving recap. I'll literally be in my parents' basement if that's everything you've ever wanted to see, is a live show on Thursday evening. And joining me to break down this game and a DFS. If you want to see me and Sully break down DFS, you can do that on YouTube as well. Tyler Sullivan. Sully, what's up, bud?
What's up, Will? How you doing?
I'm tired.
I feel you.
Thanksgiving break. Thank goodness I can now drive around the state of North Carolina multiple days in a row.
This is a weird week though. Like it's because we're running around, but it's still like, I mean, other people you have it off. Like, my girlfriend, she's off on like Tuesday now, and she's out for the rest of the week. We're like, we do a little.
You're working more.
Yeah, we got extra games going on.
Yeah,
we're gonna be having a jam-packed Thanksgiving preview for us coming up.
That's right. We got to do more previews at weirder times. It interrupts the flow. I mean, nobody cares. Nobody cares about the sports writers complaining about their job. I can feel the long season wearing on me on this Monday morning. But we're still going to find a way to give out some winners. Let's look really quickly at last Thursday's recap to see how we did. I requested from our high-end graphics department a graphic to display how we did, and actually producer Chris, who's thriving in this role, stepped up and busted out a cool graphic for us. As you can see, 2-2. This is not me nitpicking the graphic, but the first TD bets. Remember, you're not thinking the first TD bets when we give those out. Obviously, we want them to hit. I mean, we bet on them in real life. We got the week before, or we got the Monday before, we got George Kittle. But if you're betting a first TD prop, you need to understand that because the odds are what they are longer shots. So we're not gonna. It's not like I went 2-2 per se.
Right.
If
I go for value too, like that's we talk about a lot, like trying to find the right value for these two. Obviously, we want to hit, but like you're not gonna go with the a Damian Harris or a Ramondre Stevenson if those are like just crazy numbers. Hunter Henry gave us a little bit of 10-1 vibes, I think, or for maybe 11-1 or whatever it was at the time.
I'm trying to remember what the Falcons didn't score. Oh, it was Nelson Aguilar. That's who it was.
Yeah.
No, Aguilar. I didn't even have him on the radar. Should have probably. But yeah, we've been going lighter on these first touchdown props, and I think that's a better thing. You shouldn't, if you put like a unit on Mac Jones under 33.5 pass attempts, or a unit on Kyle Pitts under receiving yards, you shouldn't put a full unit on Hunter Henry to score the first touchdown. Should be less. Hunter Henry 2 touchdowns, it's like 30-1. So put less on that. You know what I mean? Like that. If that's not obvious, it should be. But I'm pointing it out now. So yeah, decent game for us. You come out in the black. That's good, right? Yeah. Black's up, red's down. Yes,
sure.
Okay, let's get to. We go from the Patriots to Tom Brady. Lovely little segue for you, our resident Patriots expert, and the Bucs are a robust 11-point favorite over the Giants with a total of 50. Can you talk yourself, Sully, into backing the New York Football Giants on Monday Night Football against Tom Brady as 11-point dogs?
I can. It's just I'm going to need a few drinks to actually do it. I mean, that's probably the only way I can think about going with it. To me, I just really like the spot that the Buccaneers are in because, again, 11 points, I feel like a lot of people might be fading that. But when you look a little bit deeper at what they've been able to do at home this season, it's really unbelievable. Their 3 covers this season, their 3 wins against the spread have all come at home. Their last 3 home games, they've outscored their opponents. So this is excluding that, that week 1 opener against Dallas where they were just kind of going like a melee. And it was, it was a Thursday. It was a, season opener outside of that game. So their last 3 home games, they've outscored their opponents by 28.6 points per game. They're averaging 43.6 points per game, and they're 7-1 against the spread in their last 8 home games. To me, it's just they roll at Raymond James Stadium as of late, and to me, it just makes a ton of sense to back them here. Again, 11 is a big number, especially when you start to kind of look at New York getting a lot of those guys back, whether it's Saquon Barkley. It looks like maybe Kenny Galladay's coming back. It looks like Daniel Jones will have his full complement of weapons, but still, especially after those 2 losses sandwiched in between the bye, I think the Buccaneers are going to be foaming at the mouth to get a win here.
Yeah, I wanted to back the Giants. I think I did, maybe even on the site in my picks column. So I'm sort of reversing course a little bit here. I mean, yeah, I tend to think 11 is just too many points.
Right.
And that you're going to find a way, like Daniel Jones will find a way to get through the back door. The problem is, I mean, the Giants defense is horrendous. And Tom Brady is going to be very angry. They lost at the Saints and at Washington. They haven't played since the week before Halloween against the Bears when they beat them 38-3 at home. As you point out, their home games, they have just dominated teams, with the exception of the Cowboys. That's the only game in that opener when everybody had tons of time to prepare. And it turns out the Cowboys are a really good team. They have taken bad teams to the woodshed at home. He's comfortable there. He likes showing off for the home crowd. Bucs fans have, sort of turned into, I mean, I think Bucs have always had a pretty good crowd, but you win the Super Bowl, Tom Brady comes to town, you get a little bigger fan base. These people are excited. They got winning football now. So I'm going to take the Bucs against the spread for the purposes of our gambling now. I thought I saw 11.5 somewhere, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't hate, Sully, the Bucs team total over 31 as a wager here. I would lean towards the over, just like you. The problem is we could get 38-3, or 45-3, or I don't know, 41-7.
It's weird just because the issue is when we're talking about this Buccaneers team, especially at home, like we were saying, they've been blowing teams out. I mean, they're going to get to this number pretty much halfway on their own if they stick to their season average on a whole, and you can include that Dallas game. They're averaging, where is it? 40 and a half points a game. I mean, it's just a remarkable number that they've been putting up. So again, I like, if you're going to do team totals, that probably makes a little bit more sense there than trying to rely on even New York trying to give you just a little bit there, whether it's 10, 15, 20 points to get us over. I like them going over 30 points for sure.
Looking at the Giants too, they have only gone over a total of 50 twice this season, I believe. Once again at Washington in week 2 when it was they lost 29-30. Then again against Dallas. So they've only done it on the road in 2 division games. They lost at Dallas 44-20. We saw them against the Rams at home. They scored, the 2 teams combined for 49 points. That's sort of the scoring that I think you could see from the Bucs and the Giants. 38-11.
Well, I'll tell you this too. The one thing that can make you feel a little bit better about going over when you're looking at it from a Giants perspective, obviously, we touched on the Tampa Bay side of it. They actually have scored more points on the road than they have at home, or at least they're averaging more points on the road. 23.3 points per game away from MetLife Stadium, around 17 points per game at MetLife Stadium. So there is something to be said there, at least from what we've seen for the first portion of this season.
True that. Yeah, I would lean towards the over as well. I would take the team total over.
Yeah.
Before I took the full game over, I think. Just if only because you could get 35 points from the Bucs and you might not get 15 from the Giants, and that would be pretty frustrating if you got that.
Right.
Yeah. All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about some props. I had a few props that I liked, and I'm sure you do too. Why don't you start us off?
Well, I'll go with Tom Brady
plus
here.
Money prop.
Yeah, let's go with Tom Brady. I just think that, again, we were talking a lot about how Tampa Bay just takes teams to the woodshed at Raymond James Stadium. And really, that's largely on the back of Tom Brady. This season, he's averaging 4.5 touchdowns, passing touchdowns at home this season, which is well over his 2.5 passing touchdowns prop at plus 110 this season, this game for tonight. So to me, again, you're looking at a defense in New York that isn't particularly that great. They've had elite quarterbacks this season throw over 2 touchdowns against them already, whether it's Dak Prescott, Matthew Stafford. Brady is certainly in that realm, in that talent realm this season, even though he's, old and all that stuff. He's still amongst one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, arguably in the MVP discussions, had it not been for that loss maybe to Washington last week. But ultimately, I just really love the spot that they're in. They're going to be hungry. He's one that's probably the hungriest to get back into the win column there. I think they'll end up showing out here, throwing well over 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I like that. The one concern I would have is that the Giants are better against the pass than they are against the rush. But I really would be surprised if the thing about Tom Brady and Bruce Arians versus this is not completely solid theory because we've seen Bill Belichick blow teams out. I mean, he's not afraid to, Bill Belichick's not afraid to beat the crap out of somebody. And had, 2007 was a, just run around and kill everyone's season, right? But Bruce Arians in particular will just keep chucking. And Tom Brady doesn't mind embracing Bruce Arians' approach to throwing the football and uncorking against a bad team.
Well, especially after a week where Bruce Arians publicly called out the Buccaneers, calling them a dumb football team. I just think that there's a little bit of an edge going into this game, more so than a typical Monday night game. Monday night games are always going to play up and all that. But this game in particular for Tampa Bay, we talk a lot about, these teams that are, they get blown out and it helps set them up. I mean, that really didn't do anything for us last week against Atlanta. I mean, I had them +7. Thinking that, okay, they got blown out by Dallas. They're going to come back in a little bit more urgency. I think you're going to actually see that here with Tampa Bay, where they're just pissed off because their head coach called them out. They've lost 2 straight around the bye, and they're going to want to really go at it on prime time.
Yeah, tend to agree. I mean, they lost the freaking Washington football team.
I know.
Although they're kind of hot. Health teams to maybe Washington's better than we think. I don't know.
Well, it was 2 early picks too by Brady there, 2 in the first quarter, and that kind of set you.
And he was embarrassed. Really, he was not thrilled about that. And if they were to lose 3 straight games to non-ish playoff teams and fall to 6-4, it would essentially open the division. It would make the division wide open. With granted, a lot of division games left. A lot of division games left. Like you have to win this game and win this one convincingly. I think I like that over on Brady's passing touchdowns. It's possible that we miss it. If he threw for 4 or 5, wouldn't shock me at all. If he threw for 2, I wouldn't be shocked either. Right. Based on and then Leonard Fournette has a couple of rushing touchdowns. I have Chris Godwin over 70.5 receiving yards. I would guess that we see James Bradbury on Mike Evans a little bit more.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, I feel like that's the move, right?
And Godwin, yeah, maybe operating out of the slot more often. I think he gets over that number pretty easily. I think Evans, if gets over his number, but I decided to go with his longest reception instead. Sometimes we'll just see Brady sort of gravitate towards Godwin like that and just eat it up and then take some shots down the field to Evans.
Yeah, Godwin fits Brady a lot better than Mike Evans. I mean, Evans has that big playability down the field, those chunk plays. But Brady's, I've watched him, pretty much my entire life here in New England. It was, yes, there was the Randy Moss year where he's taken the top off the defense and stuff. But we've seen those guys that are good in, right off the line of scrimmage, that can make cuts, that are quick, like Godwin. We see that whether it's Edelman, whether it's, even, Wes Welker, Deion Branch, Troy Brown. I feel like Godwin fits those guys more than Evans, than anything that Evans is bringing to the table. Both super talented, but Brady's just had way more success and is way more comfortable throwing to players like Godwin.
Yeah, and you have different pathways to getting your over there. Whereas with Evans, you probably need a deep shot, at some point in order to get. That's sort of why I'm going longest reception. Like he could get a 25, 26 yard catch, and then. But not end up not catching a ton of passes. Godwin, you should be able to get 3 or 4 underneath balls minimum, and then all of a sudden, if he's picking up yak, you get over that 70.5 pretty easily. Or maybe he has one deep ball. I actually mentioned him as just to circle back. Oh no, we haven't done first touchdown. What am I talking about? My brain is bush at this point. Danny Dimes over rushing yards 20.5. That's I don't know, it's a little short for me. He uses his legs a lot. When they're trailing, he's scrambling. I would be shocked if he's not running more often than that. I think this number is should be more like 25.5. So there's a pretty big discrepancy in in how I think he'll run versus the number that you're getting. Like we're probably we're probably getting 5, 6, 7 carries from Daniel Jones, and he's so athletic. Now they have linebackers, the Bucs do, that make it difficult to run. But look, man, Daniel Jones is a dangerous runner. Now, if he gets hurt, obviously it's petrifying. I feel like he actually had a ton of runs last year, or 2 years ago in his rookie season in Tampa, right? Didn't he have a monster game in Tampa? Am I crazy?
Is that the one where he fell? Is that
No,
what
no,
you're
no.
talking-
That was at home on primetime. 2019, his first game was Tampa.
Oh, right, right, right,
Yeah,
right.
4 carries, 28 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns is what it was, and 2 passing touchdowns. He announced himself with authority. So that was his first ever NFL. No, he played a little bit in Week 1 against Dallas in a blowout loss, but his first ever like real NFL action was replacing Eli when the Bucs were beating the James Winston Bucs were beating the crap out of the Giants, and in Tampa steps in and just has an unbelievable game leading the back. So I think he's got some good vibes from the stadium. They beat them then. I expect him to get over 20 and a half. And as I mentioned, Mike Evans, longest reception. Kyle Rudolph, anytime touchdown is 6-1. Kyle Rudolph likes to finish with the stat line of something in the range of 2 catches, 2 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's a classic Kyle Rudolph line, but he has been featured in the red zone by the Giants recently, even when Evan Ingram is back and playing.
Yeah, with going back to the Danny Dimes one, does it change your opinion at all with the reports that Saquon Barkley is expected to play? Does that help you or does that hurt you? Because I think you can make a case either way.
All right, it should open it up for a little bit. I mean,
Right.
I think it helps.
Yeah,
I want
I
Saquon
tend to
out
agree.
there. It makes Daniel Jones a little more likely to. I mean, it makes him maybe less likely to have rushes. But I don't think these are going to be designed runs. I think it's going to be mostly, scrambling for his life because the Giants' offensive line can't hold up against the Bucs' defensive front. He has been over this number. He went over this number in each of the first 4 games. Ran a little bit less against Dallas and the Rams. Went over it against Carolina, and then just hasn't had the yardage there, but had the runs, but not the yardage the last 2 weeks. So I just think the number's kind of suppressed based on recent performance. I like the over there.
All right, and I'll stick with Danny Dimes on one here. I think it's interesting his over 34 and a half pass attempts, and he's not really been one to throw a ton, in terms, go over this number this season. But when you look at what Tampa Bay has been forcing teams to do this season is just throw the football because they're getting out to big leads or it's turning into one of those shootouts. The Bucs are allowing opposing quarterbacks to average 39.3 pass attempts this season. It's 3rd most in the NFL. And then when you go at home and you kind of break it down even further, it's an NFL leading 44.3 pass attempts per game by opposing quarterbacks. And like we said, that's because they're coming out to these big leads. These teams have to all of a sudden abandon the run, start throwing it all over the field just to keep up with Brady and company. With an 11-point spread, to me, I just think that we're in for another one of those type of games where they're going to have to throw a little bit more than usual to keep up with the Buccaneers.
What we say it was 34 and a half. I don't hate that at all. That's a pretty good bet.
And then
likely, assuming he plays a full game,
right,
and
exactly.
you can't run against the Bucs, probably going to have to throw somewhere in the range of 35, 40, 45 times.
Which is crazy for somebody like Jones, who, you don't really want him to
You
throw
do
that
not
much
want
at
him
all.
throwing that many
But,
times.
they've been forcing opposing quarterbacks to do that. And last one for me, Fournette, rushing attempts over 14 and a half. Giants aren't particularly great against the run, or at least, like you said, that's the weaker point to that defense. He's averaged 12.4 carries this season per game, but when they've actually been going good, when the Buccaneers have been playing well, he's been getting a ton of carries. Over the last 2 weeks, the numbers kind of dipped down a little bit. I think one was even in like the single digits, but I do think that maybe they recalibrate a little bit and say, hey, listen, we can run the football here, especially maybe in the second half where if they gain a decent enough lead coming out of the break where you can just start handing off and feeding Fournette the rock there. To me, that one I like too.
Yeah, I almost added that one myself, and I bet that goes up to 15 and a half maybe by the time that the game kicks off. The only issue I think you could run into is do the Bucs have such a big lead that they actually turn towards like Giovanni Bernard and Ronald Jones, which is something they've done before, but they're not really scared about giving Fournette Man, I guess he hadn't been over. He went over that for. He's only been over that 3 times.
Yeah, but over the course of like when they were really rolling, the last 2 weeks here in between that bye, it's really kind of fallen off. But even before that, the game right before, what was that game they lost before the bye? Was that
The Saints game.
the Saints game? So outside of that, he's been getting double-digit carries. He's kind of been flirting around, not necessarily this number, but he's been involved.
No, I think it's a good bet. I like it. I like the over. I mean, look, these numbers, these props are oftentimes created based. I mean, no kidding, but like based on previous performance, right? You take the mean of the previous performance, right? Like you toss out the 22 and you toss out the 4, and then you average. Let's see, can I control? No, probably can't do that. I'm not going to do a bunch of math here, but I mean that's if you get the mean number of his rush attempts so far this season, it's probably 14 or 14 and a half. And then you factor in, you juice it up a little bit. Wouldn't be surprised to see it move up. I like that. I like that bet a lot. All right, first touchdown score.
To me, I'm going with Gronk. I mean, we're seeing if we
Gronk is 100% good to go, right?
I think so. It doesn't seem like he's not good to go. Right? I think that's the best way that I can say it. We have to wait and see, I guess, but all indications are that he's going to play in this game. And so to me, 11-1 with a guy like that, where Brady just absolutely will look to him, whether it's either him or Mike Evans, who he's going to look at first and foremost when they get into the red zone. And for somebody with 11-1 odds, I'm absolutely taking Gronk here.
Yep. Gronk is certainly on the list. I have Chris Godwin at plus 650. I realize that number is disgusting. I mean, I don't know who else you could really look for other than, Devontae Booker 12-1. No, thank you. Evan Ingram 18-1. I thought about. I just think the tight ends are in play here.
Yep.
Daniel Jones 20-1 is probably bettable as well.
I didn't see that earlier. I was looking for him. I didn't see where they must have just put that on.
Oh, actually, I was looking at my local, not on. He
didn't
is.
See on Caesars.
He's not even on Caesars
Because that
Rudolph
was
35-1 is a bet.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So I'll Chris, if we could I'll add Kyle Rudolph. Like I'm going to put $25 on Kyle Rudolph.
Sure.
I bet him at 40-1 on my site. The Caesars numbers are a little bit squeezed. There's just, we talk about this every week, I feel like, but PH at the back end for Rudolph. They shrunk the numbers down like crazy. Scotty Miller's 19-1. Get the hell out of here. Scotty Miller should be 50-1 to score the first touchdown. What are we doing? Tyler Johnson is 15-1 to score the first touchdown. These are unfair markets.
That's tough. That's tough. I do like Saquon though, plus 750. I don't think that's terrible.
No, it's not crazy.
Because if you look, I think Fournette's like at Caesars. He's the
four
most
and a half
one.
to 1. He's under 4.5 to 1 for. What are we doing?
So if I'm getting what I consider to be, if healthy, a better running back.
Yeah.
Again, watch if he's going to play. Make sure that he is. All signs point to him being expected to play. All good signs there. So it would really seem to have to take something drastic for him not to play tonight. So, but if you're telling me, again, tough defense, obviously the Buccaneers are good against the run, but when you get into that area, you tend to lean on your best players, and Saquon's their most talented guy, and he's at a key position that can score a touchdown. So plus 750 for somebody like that, I would absolutely take that.
Yeah, and again, my rant is just the same. It's like these guys the Giants are an 11-point dog on the road. Maybe the Bucs defer. And the Bucs don't have a great defense, but like Kadarius Toney and Kenny Galladay, Evan Ingram, those guys should not be under 20-1. Yeah. If you have 3 Buccaneers players under 7-1, those are just unfair numbers that don't equal an actual betting market. Or maybe this is fair, and the previous betting market was wildly out of whack and easily exploitable. I don't know, but we'll just sprinkling on these. Godwin's plus 650, not ideal. But if we hit those, certainly I'll take credit. But
I'm absolutely taking credit. Come on now. Please.
I'll probably put 25-1 on Kyle, or $25 on Kyle Rudolph, and then or maybe $15 on Kyle Rudolph, and I don't know, $50 on Gronk and Godwin, and you hope you hit. And if you hit, you're feeling great, and you've paid off your entire bets for the game. And if we hit our props, all of a sudden you're rolling, and you're up 15 units or something like that. So. That's why we like to get weird on these first touchdown scores. All right. We're going to go do some DFS on the YouTubes. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Excited for the game. We'll, of course, have much more this week, previewing so many terrible games on Thanksgiving. Sully, I'll see you on the flip side. All right, DFS is pretty obvious how it's going to start out. People are going to play a lot of Tom Brady. And you're probably going to see 4-2 setups for the Buccaneers very frequently. 3-3 also likely. I don't believe that you can't get like an elite 4 of the Buccaneers and still fit in Daniel Jones because he checks in, he's expensive because he's a quarterback.
You can't do an elite one, but you can have one that's in the mix. You can have one
definitely do it, yeah, for sure. So let's see. If you want to do all right, Tom Brady 16-8, Mike Evans 15-3, Leonard Fournette, these are captain prices, obviously. Leonard Fournette 15, Daniel Jones 14-4, Chris Godwin 14-1, Saquon Barkley 11-7. That's intriguing as a captain for his price, given his usage, assuming that he is back and playing, of course. Kenny Galladay 10-5, Kadarius Toney 10-2, Evan Ingram 9-9, Rob Gronkowski 9-3. My good friend Mike Glennon starts us off at the quarterbacks 9K. I usually every time the Giants are in primetime, I usually always put a Glennon captain. Like if something were to happen to Daniel Jones in this game and Glennon has to come in and has to play, but we've seen it. It's happened before this year. I want the opportunity to tell Mike that he won me $1 million. It's worth the $20 to me to make sure to not have to not be like, hey, thanks. Thanks for he didn't win me $1 million. I don't know. Anywho.
It's
the obvious best captain, I think, is Tom Brady, but he might not be the most optimal, right?
No, I don't. I mean, you can obviously make a decent lineup. It's not like, usually when we do some of these lineups, it's really tough to get that top guy in and make a competitive roster. I think because you can with Brady, that means he's going to be highly owned. I mean, it's just going to be, I think it's going to still be an insane number.
Yeah, he should be. He should have carried plenty of ownership in this spot. What's your initial lean for a captain?
Well, if you go with Brady, I still think that you can have, an elite collection of players here. You can go with Brady as the captain in one of the lineups. It's a little bit more chalky, but you can go Brady, Evans, Godwin. So you get your pretty much your key stack there. You can still go Jones, and then you can go with value with either Gio. You can go Gio Bernard later on down, whether if this turns into more of a passing type of game, and then you can wrap that up with Kyle Rudolph and hope that you get that 2 receptions for 6 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yep, you can do that. The other thing, what are we looking at? How much is who are we looking for? Gio or Rudolph?
Gio
was Kyle.
Gio was 18 and Rudolph is 2,200.
Oh, it's kind of pricey for Kyle Rudolph. But
yeah.
Yes, there's not a lot of savings on there. John Ross at 400 is an interesting name in terms of value. If for some reason Slayton or Galladay is ruled out, it's gonna be tough for him to see a ton of snaps if both of those guys are in there, though. I think. The other thing you can do is if you wanted to go, I built a similar one here. Take out Evans and Rudolph, and let's add while we're down there. No, let's add Saquon. Nice little price on Saquon. 7,800 he is going to be highly owned and then we can toss in Ryan Suckup, the Buccaneers kicker. I guess it's a projection of about 100 points, which is, if you get, if Brady goes to Evans, you banged. If Brady throws 3 touchdowns to Mike Evans or 2 to Gronk, we're toast. Well, it could be competitive as long as Godwin gets some, and then we get Daniel Jones dumping off to Barkley on the back end.
Yeah, I mean, you could see Godwin have just a ton of work in the middle of the field, and then they cash in with Gronk and Evans, but still have a quality day for Godwin.
Yeah, for sure. And you're getting access to Barkley and Daniel Jones. The one concern with Barkley would be, he's got to be involved in the passing game. They do have good linebackers with the Buccaneers. They could certainly limit his ability to break up, but he's looked really good. I think he's looked really sharp when he's been out there and fully healthy. Yeah. We've seen him looking very much explosive at various times this year. The other option Let's do a 5, just a Bucs, because we both said we like the Bucs against the spread, right?
Yep.
There's a way to get a. Should we differentiate the captain spot? Brady's.
I mean, we could go Godwin if we just love the volume.
Yeah. Go Godwin captain. Let's see. Godwin captain in this Bucs. There's a Bucs onslaught. So we're gonna go Godwin captain. Obviously, add Tom Brady. Add Mike Evans. Add Leonard Fournette, because we're going to assume that they're pounding the football afterwards. And let's toss in our Buccaneer. Oh, we can't pay for the Buccaneers defense, can you? So let's see. Let's have those 4 guys, and then
You could do Ronald Jones, maybe. Just kind of hope.
Or
that,
OJ Howard and Darius Slayton. You do that
like
combo.
That. I like that.
So it's just Brady throwing bombs all over the place, and then the Buccaneers not doing anything. I mean, assuming the Giants not doing anything, basically.
Yeah, that seems to.
I mean, that's 4 or 5-figure guys up there on the price tag.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to really, get that savings down below. So for sure.
Yeah, maybe the move is even to. I guess Leonard Fournette's more expensive than Chris Godwin. I was trying to think.
Could you take out Evans and throw in Gronk and maybe hope for that red zone? You're cashing with Gronk on the red zone as opposed to Evans.
So we go. Yeah, Brady, Fournette, Gronk, and see who we can add in there. So we got. Yeah, I mean, then you're still basically only upgrading from OJ Howard to Ryan Suckup, I think. Unless you just want to go dirt cheap with the Giants. The problem is, I mean, we think the Giants will score, I mean, a couple touchdowns, right? Maybe?
I mean, I would think so. Like I said on the pod, I mean, they do score more on the road than they do at home. Around
Daniel Jones is like good against the spread on the road. It's weird.
Yeah, 23.3 points per game away from MetLife, around 17 points per game at MetLife.
I mean, this is gonna be a Bucs. I mean, people are just gonna play the Bucs. Now, the other thing you could do here, if we wanted to, we could do Buccaneers defense as the captain.
Okay, I like that.
And so we got Tampa defense as the captain,
and just hope for a New York.
Yeah, there we go. Good job. We got and then go Tom Brady, obviously. Mike Evans, obviously. Chris Godwin. And then let's see, that leaves us enough to get Daniel Jones and Gio Bernard, which is not a terrible combination.
No.
And you get the 5-1 onslaught, which is, if you have the 5 Buccaneers versus the 4-2 or the 3-3, you're going to have less lineups that are going to be similar to yours. Maybe Gio catches a pass. In this scenario, it's not great not having Leonard Fournette, but
Right, I know what you mean, because like Fournette, under this game script, it is a dominating day by the defense, and theoretically, you would have the Buccaneers just run the football and kill clock, especially in the second half there. But
exactly.
But you could also play. I don't know. But we were talking about this too on the pod. Like you could do that and still have this idea of the Buccaneers just putting their foot on the gas after getting called out. Arians just chucking it all over the field, and they're just not slowing down. So you might not even need Fournette.
Well, and then the other thing too is that with the Buccaneers defense as the top captain, one, you're hoping for, you need low, like if the Giants don't turn the ball over and score 14 points, the Buccaneers defense is not going to be great. You need sacks, you need fumbles, you need picks, you want a defensive touchdown, you need no points whatsoever from the opposing team for the defense to pay itself off. So you're sort of thinking, while there's a chance that the Bucs put up a ton of points, it maybe some of it comes defensively, right?
Well, a good example would be last week against the Patriots against the Falcons. I bet you for a large majority of that game, when they were shutting them out, that defense captain-wise was not in the optimal. But when they finished the game with 4 straight picks, one of them being a pick 6, then all of a sudden they start to really.
The defense is very much in the optimal, right? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It's a great point. And I'm trying to think. I could look. I had that up actually before. Let me see what I. Yeah, I'm not gonna try and find it, but yes, I mean that there's a very good chance that now the Buccaneers defense can be very leaky on the back end, but they also just lost to Trevor Siemian and Taylor Heineke. You think the Buccaneers? I mean, we talk about Tom Brady being pissed off. How about the Bucs defense being pissed off? I mean, but those guys are saying like, all right, we got to do our part too. Like the offense has got to score, but we need to put these guys on lockdown. And there's are very few quarterbacks more fumble and interception prone than Daniel Jones in the NFL.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston's out for the year, so Daniel Jones might be number one. Maybe Sam Darnold.
And you could easily see a scenario where he just goes out to run. I mean, like we say, he runs the football a lot. And this time we think it might be a little bit more on scrambles, but even still, the Buccaneers have fast linebackers. They can get to him, hit him hard, and if that thing pops out, you're going to have a lot of hands, Buccaneers hands jumping on that thing.
I mean, you just picture like Vita Vea coming in and like just like bear hugging, Daniel Jones, and the ball just squirting out. All of a sudden, Antoine Winfield or Levante David just got it in their hands, or racing back, cannons going off, and we're wondering why didn't we play the Buccaneers defense? Also, at their price, 7,800 is not exactly cheap for a captain defense.
No.
Right? And
no.
Now it's possible that they will come with some ownership just because of the nature of Daniel Jones and his turnovers.
But also, I think that there's still that reputation out there by the casual viewers that this defense is what we saw last year in the Super Bowl, super dominant.
Sure.
I do, and they've been good this season, but also they've been leaky on that back end, like you said.
Very leaky on the back end. The Bucs check out 9th in DVOA, 4th against the run, 12th against the pass. So yeah, they're good. They're not elite. Man, this game, the Giants are actually 15th in DVOA, just terrible against the run. Should we build a? We got tons of time, but should we build a? I think there's a good case for a Leonard Fournette captain spot.
Yeah, sure.
He is at $15K. He is more than Chris Godwin, only $300 less than Mike Evans, and $1,300 less than Tom Brady. I don't think you will see very many people use him as a captain spot with that price.
I was just gonna say he is right sandwiched in between a lot of players where I think a lot of fans will want to pick more. He won't be a very popular guy there because they'll see either they want to pay up for Brady or Evans, or they'll say, you know what, screw it, I'll just get the savings and come down a little bit and take a Godwin or a Barkley or a Daniel Jones.
You can do let's see, if you do Leonard Fournette as a captain, you're sort of thinking an under-ish type of game more than likely, but Fournette also has been used a ton in the passing game. They've thrown the ball to him plenty. We're going to play Tom Brady, of course. I mean, I don't think I'm building a lineup that doesn't have Tom. Well, I mean, maybe we can do our Costanza lineup without Brady, but I'm unlikely to build a lineup that does not feature Tom Brady. So we're gonna put Brady in there, Godwin. Let's toss Daniel Jones in there too, and then that we can go to like some combination of OJ Howard and Darius Slayton. Right there at the top, the 3,200. He's yeah. And you give a Kyle Rudolph instead if you wanted to, and you're hoping for short touchdowns. And you go, actually X out Howard, and because Kyle Rudolph is not popping very well. It's not popping at all in these optimals. So Kyle Rudolph probably won't come with a ton of ownership. People would rather, just accommodations you can get or make it. Close out Slayton, add Rudolph, and then let's see who else we can add from the. So you get Gio instead of OJ Howard. Just moves you up a little bit. I don't hate that, especially with Fournette as our captain.
Right
at the optimal, you would think that, we'll see what they do with Ronald Jones. You never effing know what Bruce Arians is going to do with these running backs. Drives me nuts.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent to a Brady-led Patriots team where you're just like, I don't know which running back to trust here. They were nightmares for fantasy owners pretty much his entire time there, and it's rung true here in Tampa as well. I mean, it just depends on game script, and that's really just kind of how that they run it. If it's a Fournette game, well then it'll be a Fournette game. But if they get into situations where they need to start hucking the ball everywhere, it's going to be a Gio game.
Yep. Let's see. I'm just trying to see who we had. So against Washington, 65% of the snaps for Fournette, 29% for Gio Bernard on offense. You also get 28% of the snaps on special teams. So maybe he catches a punt and houses it. You get points for that. Ronald Jones just got no action in that game.
Well, you
And
can
I mean,
get
he's
you
just
can
been in
get
the
Gio.
doghouse for Bruce Arians. But I mean, sometimes Arians loves to roll him out there. And if he's running well, he'll let him keep running. He's just like he has I don't know. It's the weirdest like rotation.
But I feel like we've seen this sometimes too with Gio, where if the Buccaneers are, it's getting close to half, they're running 2 minute. He's just going to be out there. That's just how they're going to move the ball with him out there.
Actually, those last two games it's probably not indicative of what they're going to do if we assume a blowout. Let's look at the snaps for the Bucs running backs against that Bears game at home so Fournette 53, Rojo 19, Gio 15, Keyshawn Vaughn 11%. So in a bloodbath, and then Tom Brady 89%, Blaine Gabbert 11. That was a 38-3 beatdown of a bad football team at home, their last home game. So it's possible that Rojo actually ends up getting a decent amount of run if this game is
truly out of hand.
So if it's a closer game, and that makes sense, that it stands to reason that they will use Gio Bernard, and that Rojo is their guy who will come in to sort of just chew up clock and
more of a victory.
Because they were beating the Eagles pretty bad too, right? And then the Eagles just stormed through the back door. Rojo outsnapped Gio Bernard in that game as well. So that's something to consider. All right, they smoked the Dolphins too. I'm just trying to figure out so in other words, if you think it's going to be a close game, I don't think you want to use Gio. So
right.
in theory, we could pop out Gio and throw Rojo in there, but we don't need to do it right now. Gio outsnapped Rojo. God, they are not afraid to pull Tom Brady in a blowout, huh?
I mean, you don't really want to keep that 44-year-old out there too long.
No, you don't. I mean, just looking at these games where they destroyed teams, he's only playing. I mean, he's playing 84, 85, 86% of the snaps now. You're probably getting several touchdowns from Tom Brady. So it's like, if it's a blowout, Brady's going to get his points. Right. But I just sort of wonder if there's something to the idea that let's build a Costanza lineup. Let's clear that out. But anyway, if you're building you got to think about this. The game script is very important for the running back selections on the bottom end here. So let's say that Danny Dimes.
Yeah. Well, we're saying what? We're saying Giants win, Giants onslaught.
I don't think it's Giants. I don't think we want to do a Giants win. I think it's an under. I was sort of even thinking Giants put up garbage time points after Bucs sit Brady. So Daniel Jones as your captain. Let's see. Yeah, Danny Dimes is the captain. Tom Brady in the flex. It's gonna be tough to get a ton of guys in there. And then let's see who else works. I mean, because all these optimals are just popping out 4-2 Giants. So 4-2 Bucs. So I'm sort of thinking 4-2 Giants.
Well, if you want, I have one that's 4-2 Giants, but it's a little bit more. And this was supposed to be like a Costanza-y, like
Giants win.
Yeah, Giants kind of roll. And I went Jones, Brady, Barkley, Tony, Slayton, Gronk.
Okay.
And so it was basically the Giants go up big. Brady's scrambling. He's honing in on his go-to guy in Gronkowski, and that's basically where we're at.
Okay. I can get down with that. Yeah. I mean, this is like Daniel Jones takes some shots down the field and is just feeding Tony, and the Bucs just can't cover these guys. Or I mean, this could also be, like similar to the 29-19? Let's see what did they lose? 29-19 to the Washington football team?
Yes, something similar to that.
Yeah, 29-19. So it's like a low scoring-ish game. Brady doesn't play very well somehow. Daniel Jones does. The Bucs the Giants are pounding Barkley. Man, yeah. I just wonder how Yeah, I guess that in this case, do you need the Giants defense for this? Probably not. Because if the Giants are up, Brady's going to be throwing it down the field. Like they're not going to get just blown out at home on Monday Night
No,
Football. They're just
no.
not as an 11-point favorite. Now the Giants could win the game. Don't get me wrong, but if they win, I think it'll be a much closer game.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other thoughts on DFS?
No, I
like that. I like that Costanza lineup. I think 4-2 Giants.
That's
2
the biggest
Bucks.
thing. Yeah, if you can get a 4-2 Giants, I think that's going to be.
There's gonna be a ton of 3-3s and a bunch of $4 2 Giants. So if I'm doing stuff that's different, I'm probably, and not that you can't win with 3-3 or 4-2, but if I'm doing stuff that's different, I'm going 5-1 Bucks or 4-2 Giants. And God, the problem is Brady just typically distributes so much. Let me do one more. I'm gonna do a 4-2 Giants and see if I can't get. I want Brady and Godwin. I don't hate Gronk, obviously. Leave Daniel Jones as the captain. Leave Brady in there. This might be too hard to do. So Danny Dimes captain, Brady flex, Godwin flex, and then so then we're gonna have to get more Giants. So let's go Tony.
You could go Tony, Rudolph, and Ross.
Yeah. There you go. Down to Rudolph and just the way that the pricing works out. Oh, we got 6,000 left if we get Rudolph. Oh no, we don't need Ross. Close out Ross. We go X Ross and let's see who we got. I think 5,600 on the table. That'd be wild.
Oh, my fault.
No, it's fine. I was like, no, I'm not. Wasn't knocking. Well, see, look, but this is the problem. You get them to that quarterback, so it's like you can't. And then the next closest Giants player is. Oh goodness gracious! This is what we mean when we say that this. This is why the pricing pushes people to 3-3.
Yep.
Giants. I'll tell you what. Take out Danny Dimes at the captain.
I'll tell you this though: if you're leaving about whatever it is, a little
you'll
little
be unique. That's for sure.
K.
Let's go Saquon captain, and I wonder if we can get Danny Dimes after that. Yep. Oh wait, no, I'm an idiot. Oh. 9.6. We're gonna get 900. Okay, we're going to.
What was Slayton? What was Slayton's price? Could you get rid of Rudolph and go Slayton? Was he cheaper than Rudolph?
Slayton is 3,200. We get rid of Tony, add Danny Dimes, and see who we got left. That'd be the price again. The pricing just pushes you to. So you can go Slayton here if you feel the need to get. Although I think with Barkley as captain, you're probably fine. I mean, again, we're trying to build out you leave 2,700 on the table. It's perfectly fine. I'm just, there's just not one that's not going to be popping up in the optimals, to say the least. I think if you have Barkley as captain, just because people will lean towards the Buccaneers as captain, maybe you could end up going, you could easily go 3-3 or even 4-2 Bucks.
And just have a Giant as your captain. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You'd be different. And that would sort of feed into the Bucks have a lead. Maybe they're just running the ball into running the ball with Fournette and Rojo, but you got Danny Dimes dumping off to Barkley. So yeah, I mean that doesn't really set up it. You need to, I don't know. That game script doesn't really make a lot of sense, but it's not out of control. All right. Yeah. It's a bizarrely priced slate. Feels like it almost always is. But we'll find a way. We're gonna hit this $1 million at some point.
It'll be the week we don't play it.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yeah. And Thanksgiving DFS actually I'm excited for too, because that's you get the 3-game slate. That's a little looser, a little more fun to build stuff around. All right, Sully, as always, good stuff. Thanks for everybody for watching, for listening. Hope we cash these bets, and we will see you later in the week.